Hook. Have you ever had someone look you dead in the eye and try to tell you that you don't belong in the very place you've poured your heart and soul into? That's what happened to me one summer morning, when a woman from the HOA stormed up to my cabin porch, phone in hand, demanding I vacate immediately. She didn't know my story. She didn't know my struggles, my roots, or the truth about the land under her very feet, and she certainly didn't know that when she dialed 911. She was calling the police on the man who owned the entire county. Stay with me until the end, because what started as an ugly confrontation turned into a lesson about home, healing, and what it really means to stand your ground. The cabin had been in my family for 3 generations. My grandfather built it with his own hands during the Great Depression, cutting logs from the forest and stacking stone for the fireplace. For decades, it was our refuge, a place of hunting trips, summer nights by the fire, and healing from life storms. When I inherited it, I didn't see it as a luxury. I saw it as survival. Years earlier, I had lost my wife in a tragic car accident. Grief crushed me like an avalanche. The cabin became my only sanctuary, the place where I could still hear her laughter echo in the walls and see the garden she once planted bloom every spring. I moved there full-time, trading the noise of the city for the whisper of pines and the crackle of the wood stove. But then came the home. When developers started building fancy vacation homes nearby, they formed a homeowners association. At first, I ignored their letters, assuming they only applied to the new gated community. My cabin had been standing long before their bylaws, and my deed was ironclad. But Karen, as the self-appointed queen of the HOA, decided otherwise. One morning, as I was stacking firewood, I heard her high heels crunching across the gravel driveway. She was dressed like she was headed to a board meeting, oversized sunglasses masking a face pinched with superiority. "You can't be here," she snapped without so much as a greeting. "This cabin is non-compliant with HOA standards. Vacate immediately." I wiped sweat from my brow and told her plainly, "This is my land, my family's land. You have no authority here." Her jaw tightened, and she pulled out her phone. "Then I'll let the police handle it." She dialed 911 right there in front of me, her voice sharp and dramatic. "Yes, there's a trespasser refusing to leave private property." "Private property, my property." As she made the call, I felt anger rising, but beneath it was sorrow, a sorrow that someone could be so blinded by arrogance that they couldn't see the truth. When the deputy finally pulled up, I thought things might get worse. Karen rushed to his car, pointing at me like she was reporting a dangerous fugitive. But instead of marching toward me, the deputy tipped his hat and said, "Morning, Mr. Lawson. Everything all right out here?" Karen's face strained of color. "You a broken bar, you know him?" she stammered. The deputy chuckled. "Know him, ma'am? Mr. Lawson owns this whole county. Roads, timber, everything your HOA sits on is leased under his company." Karen froze. For once, she had no words. After the deputy left, Karen lingered on the porch, humiliated but also strangely curious. I could have kicked her off the land right then, but something in me softened. Maybe it was my late wife's voice in my memory, reminding me that people act out of ignorance more often than malice. So I invited her to sit. She resisted at first, but eventually she lowered herself onto the old rocking chair by the door. I poured her a cup of coffee and told her the story of the cabin, how my grandfather had carved out a life here, how my wife's laughter once filled these walls, how grief had nearly broken me until this land held me together. Her shoulders slowly dropped. She took off her sunglasses, and for the first time, I saw something human in her eyes. "Yeah, broken bar, I didn't know," she whispered. "That's the thing," I said gently. "Most people don't know the stories that live in the places they try to control. This cabin isn't just a building. It's a piece of my soul. You can't legislate that with bylaws and fines." Karen didn't apologize that day, not in words, anyway. But she left without another demand, and within a month, the whole letters stopped coming. Rumor had it she'd been voted out of her little presidency. But the story didn't end there. Weeks later, I was in town at the feed store when Karen approached me again. This time, she wasn't wearing heels or sunglasses, just jeans and a worn sweater. She looked nervous, almost shy. "I wanted to thank you," she said quietly, not just for the coffee that day, but for showing me a different way to see things. I've been a broken bar too focused on control. I forgot about connection. For a moment, I saw the possibility of change, a proof that even the most rigid hearts can bend. Now, whenever I sit on the porch of the cabin, I think about that summer, about how a simple act of defiance turned into chance for understanding. The lesson is simple but powerful: never let anyone make you feel like you don't belong where your roots are deepest. Stand your ground, but also leave room for grace, because sometimes, the very people who challenge us are the ones who need the reminder most. Home is not a structure. Home is where your heart has bled, healed, and kept beating. And no home, no matter how loud, can take that away. HOA final note for viewers: if you've ever been made to feel like you don't belong in your own story, remember this: your worth isn't measured by rules on paper or the judgments of others. It's written in the love you've given, the battles you've fought, and the places that have carried you through.